Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Ascend the Mountain. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Steve, and we're just two normal dudes just helping people get closer to the Father, or they're walking the journey, or
whatever they're doing. Something. You're sending something to get somewhere.
That's our purpose. Yeah, ultimately our goal is just to help you and help ourselves in our walk with God and walk with the Father.
Get closer to Him in those moments of encounter with Him.
We decided to go more corporate.
We did. Is that what this is called, corporate now? I thought it was called a broken down barn.
We're done being outside. We're going inside. It is so stinking hot.
I see that you're quenching your thirst with something very delicious. What are you drinking over there?
Yeah, it's Bubbles with Benefits.
Ooh.
It is kombucha. I don't know if you've ever had kombucha. It's good.
It's so good.
My wife tried it and she's like, she started spitting.
Really?
She's like, oh, that's like just drinking pure acid. So good. I don't know. Have you guys ever had kombucha? If you did, put it in the comments.
What's your favorite one? We're doing, we picked it up at Target. And this says it has 1 billion probiotic cultures.
Yours is 1 billion?
Sorry, 2 billion.
I was like, mine's 2 billion. That's
sorry, 2 billion. My bad. If I can count. 2 billion. All that says to me is it's going to really help me poop later. So.
Pooper. Mine's pomegranate lemonade.
Nice. I did blueberry mint. I like mint stuff.
So good.
So, based off of that, we have something that we've been kind of like, I don't know, rolling around. It applies even to where Steve and I are at right now in life, but we feel like this definitely applies to many of you as well. You might be in a moment of feeling stuck. We've talked about that, but like get moving. And what does that mean? Like, what the heck are you waiting for? Honestly?
I kind of look at this, and how we're kind of discussing this is, have you ever received a promise, a word of knowledge, a prophecy? I don't know where you guys believe and stand on that stuff. And you're like, when do I move and when do I go? Or God has placed something in you, a desire, a passion, something, or a stirring, like, but when do I do it? Because sometimes, actually a lot of times, it's not, God usually has you wait and He prepares you to go.
Right.
Like in my circumstance, didn't grow up in church, and the first church I went to this revival service. It was crazy, and the pastor kind of like, I got saved, a radical, ambushed by the love of God, and the pastor called me up in front of the stage, and he started saying, I'm going to do all these great things for God. I had no idea what was happening to me.
Right.
I was a deer in headlights. I was like, what are you saying? Everyone's clapping. I'm like, I don't know what it means. Then church afterwards, I kept on getting these words. I'm going to do all these things for God. Like, people would just come up to me. People didn't even know me. Then I've happened in grocery stores. I've had it happen in the last 20 years.
Crazy.
It is so crazy. And I used to sit there going, okay, I'm 43 now.
When's that going to happen?
When is that going to happen? I used to think, and I used to base my life going, okay, when I start doing this, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, all these prophecies, I'm like, these are going to happen. And I'm 43, and though I've done, I think, some great things for God's kingdom, definitely not to the prophecy, word of knowledge level. And you always sit there going, so when is it God and when is it us type?
And that can be also just in like your basic living. Like, you just have a desire maybe to go back to school, you want to get married, or maybe you're married, you want to have kids one day, buy a house. I mean, it can be all sorts of things in your life. But I don't know about you, but I feel like there are definitely times, and I know that there are aspects even in my own life and friends and family members that I have, that I know that they're just like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And I feel like, though there are many verses that do say wait on the Lord, and I have seen that happen in my life, there's also a time to go. God's saying, I've equipped you, go do it. Go do the thing that you want to do. And the story that kind of came to my mind when we were talking about this is in 1 Samuel chapter 17. And in chapter 17, this is where David comes to the camp where Saul and the army are facing off against Goliath. Now, they haven't fought anything, and every day Goliath comes out, big giant dude, if you don't know the story, and challenges Israel. He's like, hey, someone come out here and fight me, and if you guys beat me, if the one guy kills me, then we'll all surrender to you. But if I kill him, you all have to surrender to us. And that was obviously certain death. That was in a form of servitude and slavery, basically, for the children of Israel or for the Philistines. And obviously this giant dude, he's like 9 feet tall, bred for battle, knows what he's doing, a champion.
I'm not gonna lie. Let me ask you: would you like? He's 9 feet, right?
Yeah,
I
9
think
feet
the
tall,
Bible
but
says.
I'm 6'2", so I mean,
And
that's
so
still
they're
3
going.
feet.
Like he got this boisterous voice. This is offside talk. I just want to know: would you fight, or would you pee your pants?
We all would say like, "Oh, I would totally take him out." I know, but that's
He's
because you know the end of the
9
story.
feet
Yeah,
tall.
there is a very high probability that I would be waiting for someone else to go.
I think even his armor was 125 pounds.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like his spear, they said the handle of his spear was as wide as a weaver's rod. So for weaving stuff, I mean, like basically you and I couldn't get our hand around it.
Yeah.
And back in that day, we're a lot bigger now physically. Yeah. I mean, they estimate that most people are like 4.5 to 5 feet tall max.
So my 13-year-old son.
So almost double your size physically. I mean, imagine just playing football with somebody like that, let alone, yeah, he wants to kill you.
So that gives you a good visual of like,
right.
It's just more in a story. Like this, he's intimidating.
Right, extremely intimidating. And for 40 days, he comes out and does that. He makes this challenge every day for 40 days. And the armies just are on each side of the valley, basically. And then David rolls on this thing, and he's like, what is going on? Why is it taking us so long? Why has no one gone out and fought Goliath? Like, get to it. Like, this is, in this term, an uncircumcised Philistine, otherwise like someone who is not in covenant with God. So he has no right to be saying these things. He's blaspheming the Lord. He's saying names and calling racial slurs.
And David's puny. The Bible even calls him puny.
Yeah, he was ruddy and nothing really to like look at is the term that they used, and stuff. And he's like, well then fine, I'll do it. I'll get after it. Like, why are you guys sitting there on a bump on a log waiting for something magically to happen?
And I think that's beautiful in the sense of what you said in that last part is a lot of us are just waiting for something to happen. Waiting for, like even when I shared my story at the beginning, a promise to be made, a prophecy to be fulfilled. And we kind of sit in our house or sit in the trenches going, okay, maybe today's the day.
Right.
And it could be literally anything. But there's something even in the kingdom of God, God's placed in your heart to go do, and you're just like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't want to. I don't want to do this. And I'm sitting there going, well, and the term is, I'm waiting for God.
Right. I'm waiting for him. I'm waiting for him to do something. And to give some context, Saul, who was the king at the time, was anointed by God to save Israel from their enemies. That is really the main concept on why they wanted a king to rule over them, was to protect them from their enemies. And Saul's like, I'm good. I don't want to go fight this guy. So his job was to go fight this guy. And if not him, remember, David has never fought anything outside of a lion and a bear. You have men in the army who they may not be as physically impressive as Goliath, but they have fought just as long as he has. They know war. They know how to handle
These
their
are
weapons.
trained warriors.
Right.
They've been through boot camp.
Right.
And they can't do it.
They're like, no, we're good.
David hasn't. He fought bears, which is, when you read that passage, you're sitting there going, he said that pretty casually.
Yeah. Lions and bears.
I was like, they rip them by their mouth. I'm sitting there going,
I was just at the Cheyenne Zoo last week with my boys.
Yeah.
And the lions are like right up against the glass. And so you can see, I mean, their paw, is like the size of a basketball. And their head is like the size of a beach ball. You're like, this mouth will totally encompass my face.
I just watched The Revenant.
Nice. That's a bear fight.
And that scene with Leonardo DiCaprio fighting that bear, and I'm sitting there going, I don't know. But we live in fear.
Right.
And we almost use the excuse of, I'm waiting for God to do something. And this is this whole point. Maybe God is preparing you, and I'm not downgrading where you're at in your walk. But this podcast is really to challenge you to go out and do something. We run into people all the time that have a lot of desires and dreams in their heart. They're good.
Right.
But they're always waiting for the perfect time.
Right.
It's almost like when people go, I've met people going, we're waiting to get married until this is perfect. We're waiting to have kids until this is perfect. I'm waiting to move here until this is perfect. I don't know if there's always going to be a perfect situation.
I don't know if there is ever. Particularly with kids, I'll just park on that for a second. A friend of mine, good friend, told me one time, who had already had kids, he said, there will never be a perfect time to have kids. So when you want it, just do it. because you'll never have the right finances, the job will never be perfect, all this stuff, but there's just something supernatural. And he was, at the time, he really wasn't walking with God. He was like, there's just something supernatural that happens, man, that like the bills are met, the childcare works out, it just works. Yeah, it's stressful, yeah, it's somewhat hard, but there's never a right time to have kids specifically.
And I feel like there's someone that's listening right now, like there's, like God's kind of telling you to like move a state. Go try something. Go chase something that He's put in you, and you're like waiting for that perfect moment. It's no different. My wife and I have talked about this when we retire. When my son finally graduates, like we've got 48 years old, and we want to move to Tampa. But we're already in the talks going. That's where we want to end our days, on a beach.
Right.
And my wife's like going, but what about this? And I started going, well, I don't know if that's going to work. It's a nice little dream. I'm like, I only get one shot at this life.
Right.
One shot to do this.
Right.
And it's not like, okay, God sits there going, you die, you get a new chance. You get one chance at this life, and I think it's in Corinthians, you die once.
Yep.
It's it. And we don't even know how long we have. And I want to sit there and challenge some of you guys and ladies, like, there's something in you, and it could be even something simple as, man, I want to go climb this 14er. I want to hit Mount Everest. I don't know.
Do it.
I'm like, God placed that in you for a reason. Like adventure. A lot of people that watch this podcast love adventure. Go do it. It's not just even this. God could even teach you something.
Yeah.
Even in that, just a face of fear going. But we live in so much fear.
And even of the failure. It's like the what if. Maybe you want to start your own video podcast thing. Maybe you have stuff on your mind, but you're like,
who would watch it? Why would I do this?
All this stuff. It's like, do it. Just do it and see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? What are you waiting for?
You wasted $600 on a camera.
Boom. That not that big a deal. That's probably like what? Your budget for 3 months at Starbucks? Like, who cares?
And that's what we're really wanting. Maybe this is like, hey, for some of you, yes, as I said before, God's making you wait.
Right.
Prepare.
Right.
But for some of you watching this, it's time to move on some of these things God has stirred up in you and do and go produce in your life.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at. Like even for myself and getting those prophecies and those words, it's not like I've literally sat there, though I haven't seen the big produce or harvest of everything. I have done stuff. There's stuff on my end I still have to do.
Right.
Let's just say, for instance, God saying, man, saying in this heart, I want to go do Mount Everest.
Right.
I will die.
Right.
But I'm sitting there going, but you're sitting there going, I don't know if I can do this. Maybe take a chance.
Take a chance, see what happens. Maybe you can't. Guess what? Maybe you can't. But better to go to Mount Everest, get halfway up and be like, I physically can't do this, than to never have done it.
And that's one of the things I shared with he's in his 20s. I go, I at least try stuff.
Right.
I'm not afraid to, if it fails and flops, okay. But I know when I stand before God, most of my life has been like, at least I tried it.
Right. It's just funny that you keep bringing up Everest because, like,
I don't know why.
A desire of my heart is to do Mount Kilimanjaro, and so that is going to take like 2 weeks of a vacation. So basically, like a huge chunk of time, like the whole fly over there, all that stuff, and it's almost $10,000 to do like the whole thing with a guide, which I would absolutely do.
So we're taking donations. Just
yes,
click on the link
but
below.
it's like $8,000 to $10,000, to make it happen. And it's like you could do a lot with $8,000 or $10,000 other than that. Or wow, you really want to spend like a year saving up for that and all the more than a year, but you know what I mean, like getting ready and like training, because you definitely physically would have to train yourself to handle some of that stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, but it could either just be a pipe dream that I have all the days of my life, or I could actually do something about it. And I hope to be able to do it before I'm 50. That's my goal.
And I want to end on some of this. Like, we have these desires God's placed in us, and they're all different. You could be chasing a new job and a new career that just like, man, I have a friend of mine that he's a mechanic, but he wants to open his own pizza shop. Nice. And I kind of like encourage him, like, hey, do it. Go take a chance. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person that discourages them. I'm like, what's up? Like, I lose nothing. But I'm sitting there going, hey, go do it. Right. Try. Right. You got nothing. If you failed, I don't know what to tell you.
Right. You got nothing to lose but accept the fact that you tried.
You tried.
Right.
And I think I want to kind of encourage people on that. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, don't always maybe God's waiting for you to move
Right.
and do something. So
Right.
that's
That's it. There it is.
it's a lot different than we talked about last week.
Yeah, but
That was
hopefully that encourages you guys. We want to hear your comments below, particularly if you know that this is like speaking to you. If you're like, I know I'm supposed to do this, it's good to put it down somewhere. So even maybe for some of you, it's a risk just saying like, I know I'm supposed to get back on the dating scene. I know I'm supposed to move or sell my house or live in a trailer or like do like whatever, wherever.
Lose 20 pounds.
Yeah, whatever it is, put your comment below, and we'll be praying for you, obviously, through that. But to that can be even your first step on that process of actually getting off your butt and doing it. So, you guys are awesome. Love you. Don't forget to subscribe, share.
Spotify, Apple, and we're getting close to go on Audible and Amazon.
Come on, man.
I
Growing
don't
all the
know what
time.
that means, but it's more avenues
Yeah.
to.
Get the word out there.
We're having fun.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are too.
So,
So
until next time. Peace.
Peace.